Cool. G'day everybody, this is Wayne Forrest. Today we have no Susan. We've got a little bit of feedback on the line, but I think that's because Tracey's actually not that far away from me. And today we're going to just have a chat, informal chat with the lovely Tracey Gibb. And Tracey is actually a good friend of mine. And I met Tracey 3 years ago through a multi-marketing business opportunity called Purple Rice or Exacta. And we've been friends ever since. And Tracey was actually, well, is my upline. And Tracey and I have got on ever since. And she's like my little sister. She's even got the blonde hair and the blue eyes. So today, I know a little bit about Tracey's story, and I want Tracey to talk about where she's been and what she's had to cope with over the last 10 years or so. And so, Trace, can you tell us a little bit about how your discovery of awareness probably came from that pain that you went through by being not very well, the illness that you went through, and then what happened afterward?
Cool as. So I think my awareness of this wonderful journey of life possibly started when, at the happiest time I'd been in years, just newly married and only a couple of months in, and I was diagnosed with leukemia. So that was an interesting start to what I thought was going to be an exciting journey. I ended up having to spend a year in and out of hospital for treatments, most of that actually in hospital, out of my hometown, which meant I wasn't near my children as much as I would have liked to have been. So my whole goal through that time of actually having leukemia was just to get home to my kids. And that's all I wanted, was get the treatment done and let me get home to my kids, which I achieved quite well after an amazing year of chemo and radiation and a bone marrow transplant and lots of ups and downs, a huge roller coaster ride. I finally got home permanently to the kids in December, and so I thought my life was back on track and that our rough times were over.
Yeah, Trace, can I just ask a question there? No, because we talked about this a little bit already, and so I know a little bit about the story. And I love how you said that your family was your focus, because leukemia, let's not downplay that. That's very, very life-threatening, and you know, they don't give you a big chance or big percentage to come through that your life. And so, for those people listening, how did you focus on? You know, how did you? Obviously, family was a big part of that. What was the secret for you?
I was really super positive, and I actually never considered the option of dying. So when
you laugh about that, right? And that's what I wanted, because you laugh about that, and but that is the secret, isn't it? That you didn't even think about dying. It was not an option, was it?
No. I remember the doctor saying that there was that 10% of people died within the first month of treatment, and I went, oh, that's amazing. Like, that means there's 90% chance I'm going to make it. So I never looked at the statistics, and on the negative side, bone marrow transplants are 50-50, you'll make it. And I was like, well, that's like having a boy or a girl. Your odds of, you know, in pregnancy, that's pretty lucky you're going to get what you want. So even when they asked me to write a will before the bone marrow transplant, I said no, because that gave me the option of dying. So I refused to write a will for myself as well. but I just never contemplated that I wasn't getting home to my kids. That I'd fought so long to be with them, and I was not going to go home and not be a mum. So, and I had housework and stuff to do, so I just had to get back there.
Housework, I love that. And I love what you're saying, because in theory, that's what we, as a life master consultant, I ask my clients to have that amount of belief. I've heard another lovely lady that I've interviewed some time ago about cancer, and she said turning that hope into belief. And once she'd done that, she knew she was going to beat it. And she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and she survived it. 9 years later, she's still running around 10 years later. And they gave her absolutely no percentage of living. And so I love what you've just told him. I think that is so powerful. So before I interrupted you, so then what happened? Because I know there's a hell of a lot more to this story than just that.
Oh, so I got to come home in December, had my kiddies around me again. We'd had some really cool conversations about life was going to get, life was going to be good. We'd made plans. We made a shift from the country into town. The boys had struggled with a little bit of bullying the year before, so we made the choice to change schools and see how that went for us being in town. And so the year at school actually started off with a bang, and it was Josh, my middle son. My youngest was happy as well, but Josh, my middle son, just was lit up with life and was rocking this world for that first part of term. We'd had some amazing conversations. He was coming home most days saying how happy he was to be alive and how awesome life was. And then on March the 9th, after I said goodbye to him on his way to school, he actually never made it. So he was hit by a van on his way to school, crossing, unfortunately, without looking. And I lost him. So I'd gone from this extreme high of being home with my children to, in a moment, my life changing and losing my middle son, which was easy enough to say it was horrific. Yeah, crazy horrific.
Yeah.
That sort of blew the bubble of my life's going to be okay. I thought I'd fought the biggest battle. Never thought I'd die. And I remember thinking at the time, with an instant of being with him, as my biggest question was, why would I survive that, only to lose my son? When if someone had to go, why couldn't it have been me? I was in the prime opportunity to take me if they wanted to. So I was angry. Oh, not angry. I was confused about that. So, yeah, so it was pretty horrific. Even just how it happened, and not being able to get to him within that instant, and the way it all unfolds can be quite numbing. But it's 8 years on now, and we're all still here, and we're all still processing that grief, but living as well.
Yeah, and but I have no idea. I've never, I would never want to experience that. And I'm listening to your story, and I'm thinking I would have been bloody angry. With a certain amount of learning, obviously my consciousness has grown, and that. But if I had any learning on board that I have today, I would have been really angry at the world and life for having to go through an illness that I had survived through, that lots don't, and then lose your son soon after.
Yeah.
That would have been incredibly hard. Um,
It
so
was, but I think my saving grace was when I was with Josh over that few days before his funeral, because as a mum, you don't want to leave their side, whether they're there or not. You know, I realised a lot, and I questioned a lot of things. I wasn't angry. I was just, I wasn't angry at the world, but I was extremely sad to have not had that future ahead of me with Josh. But what I did realise, and I'm pretty sure it was through him that he showed me that it was my chance this lifetime to change things around. And it was all boiled back down to love, because all I saw over that time with him was how much he'd impacted people with his love and his gregarious nature and his crazy personality, and he'd touched so many people in his life, but it was all love. It was because he wasn't afraid to express it out loud in his crazy extroverted way. And when I looked at the people around me, we were either surrounded by love or united by love. The community united, the strangers I'd never met reached out in this most amazing way of love. And it just woke me up to leukemia. Hadn't done that. Leukemia was just, when I had that, I just wanted to get home to my kids. I just wanted to be a mum. But when Joshy died, I realised that this was my turn to live how I wanted to, which was to love out loud, because Josh had shown us that, and he'd shown us how that impacted the world. And so for me, it was almost a freeing of not holding back, not holding back from worrying about what people thought, or worrying about how flamboyant you could be with showing someone how much you loved them. So for me, it was that real moment of, this is all it's about. It's literally all it's about, is how much we can love and how much we can show that love to other people in an unconditional way. So for me, it was the start of a massive journey of possibly being a lot more authentic, because I'd always been a little bit, I didn't really hug people because I always felt a bit awkward, or like I was in their personal space, or I didn't really, I don't know, I didn't stick my neck out too far unless it was my family, because I didn't want to come across as being airy-fairy and lovey-dovey. But I realised that's all we've got anyway, so it doesn't matter. So for me, that was my chance to say, actually, you know what, God damn it, I'm going to show some love. So yeah, it's come from a really cool place. So he taught me a lot.
yeah, and no doubt still is teaching. And I really love how you explain that you realize that it's about your personal growth and becoming authentic with who you really, really are, the true us.
Yeah.
And we talk about that true us, that spiritual part of us that is me, the power that is connected to all. So, Trace, how we know? Obviously, did you say it's 9 years or 7 years? 8 years.
8.
In between.
Yeah.
So, in the 8 years, because obviously that has impacted the way you have started to be authentic to you. So, where has that taken you today?
So for the first couple of years after Josh went, I was really numb. And so a lot of that love was about loving me and gratitude for everyone that was around me. And so I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude every day for the people that supported me, for the community, for everything. So that first couple of years was just about keeping ourselves going, my family, the kids, my friends, and because I felt numb for a lot of it, I didn't really begin to grieve maybe until further on down the track. I then had a bit of a roadworks with my health due to complications after having the bone marrow transplant and going into menopause. So I actually went through a real funky phase for a couple of years too, where I wasn't well. And that sort of came to a peak where I was actually wanting to give up, which was a bit of a shame, but that's just where my health was. And then amazingly came across, obviously, the purple rice that we were talking about at the beginning, which started changing my health around, and gave me a new lease on life, thank goodness. And in the last couple of years, it's been surrounding myself with like-minded people. And so the rice was the catalyst for that, to attract to me the people that were going to help me grow and who I could contribute back to as well. So the last couple of years have been friggin' amazing, in the sense of I don't think I've ever felt so much like I belong with the people that I'm surrounded by now, which is, outstanding. And it's also really taken off that personal growth, because what's happened is the like-minded people that I'm surrounded by now all want to grow as well. So I think personal growth has been the last couple of years, and maybe even dealing with stuff, because old familiar patterns still fall into place, and that's probably where I'm at now in the way of growing forward from here, is changing patterns that let you slip backwards. But because I'm surrounded by like-minded people who love growing, I know that it can only get better. So yeah.
And I'm just listening to you, Trace. I'm not sure, but I think there's a link there too, isn't there? By that self-growth that you're talking about is you being authentic with that person inside you who is the part of us that grows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say that's the same thing? Or even, it's funny, when you look and listen to your story, I can see the link that even when you went low again and the rice brought all these amazing people together, that all came back to growing that authenticity of who we really are and who we're meant to, and what we're meant to do, and being on this journey to discover who and what we're meant to really do, our purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved recently that learning that our purpose is just being. I love that. The inner purpose was just to actually just be, and be okay with being. And so that was quite exciting for me. It quite resonated, actually, to know that inner purpose is literally just to discover me.
Yeah.
And enjoy that in every moment. And our outer purpose will align with that once we get that, in that space of presence and awareness. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's a new way of being, that I've heard it said. The other way I've heard it said is growing, our purpose is to grow our awareness of our consciousness. And that's pretty much what you just said. Our consciousness is who we really are. So that's all our purpose is to grow who we really are and discover that. And sadly, sometimes we need these terrible things happen to us for us to actually discover that.
Yeah, I think I would have maybe not have awakened when I did. I possibly wouldn't have awakened in the sense of becoming aware of consciousness and aware of purpose. And because if life's all happy chappy and you don't have challenges, I guess it's easy to get stuck in the mundane ways of life, just doing what everyone else does. And sometimes I think it does take something to wake us up. Possibly could have been something not so dramatic.
Yeah, well, we could all say that, but it doesn't. It has to be that dramatic, doesn't it? Because I look at my own situation, and oh, sorry, guys, stop. We gotta stop it. Sorry, guys. That was the buzzer, because obviously we're nearly 20 minutes, and we like to keep it under 20 minutes. So, but just to round up, I was talking about my own thing, with me being in the chair. And it was interesting. A lady said to me the other day, she said, you had to sit down. The universe wanted you, or God wanted you to sit down and listen to people and talk to people, right? And because that really resonated with me, because before my accident, they put me in my wheelchair, of course, sitting down and listening and talking to people. I was really hyperactive, very physical, always busy, always flat out working or shearing sheep or running around the farm. I was probably too busy to actually sit down and have authentic conversations with people. And guess what? I had the God or spirit or universal spirit or whatever you like to call it, wanted me to sit down and have conversations. You would have thought it would be an easier way to do that. But I had to break my neck. And so it's funny how we have these bloody shit moments. That creates also the awareness, which is sometimes the best thing that we could ever find in our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely a journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tracey, for telling your story. And I would imagine a lot of people out there can resonate with that story. And I hopefully that might help someone heal a little bit in their own struggles of life. And thank you from Susan, who sadly couldn't get online because her internet was having troubles again. So thank you everyone for listening to us, and have a great day. Bye for now.
Thanks, Wayne.